The starliner Aurora's embrace glided through Arborea 7's shimmering stratosphere, its sleek hull emblazoned with the crest of the Trelmes and Oceances Academy. In the docking bay, 16 alien students from the insectoid Churix to the bioluminescent Allori filed off in nervous procession. Each wore the standard-issue survival harness, its straps adorned with scanners, emergency rations, and a compact toolkit. Yet none of these trinkets could calm the jittery hum of uncertainty vibrating through their diverse physiologies. Outside the bay's reinforced airlock, Arborea the Seventh's forest greeted them with an otherworldly hush. Gargantuan trunks, their bark mottled in shades of emerald and indigo, rose in silent columns overhead. Bioluminescent vines draped between branches like living chandeliers, and phosphorescent mushrooms dotted the forest floor. The air was rich with the scent of damp moss and exotic pollen, sweet, sharp, and inexplicably thrilling. An amplified voice crackled through their wrist-cum units. "Welcome, students, to the Survival Integration Test. You have 12 hours to build a shelter capable of protecting you from Arborea 7's nocturnal hazards. Once complete, you must spend the night within this shelter. Harvesting local materials is authorized. External assistance is not. Good luck." A collective ripple of gasps and whistles swept through the group. The Vreezel scholar Thurik's feathers ruffled in agitation. The gelatinous myxinoid Slithura contracted at the thought of unseen forest denizens. 3 Caridians began jostling over the same patch of luminescent fungi, claws clicking in heated debate over which could serve as better insulation. Oblivious to the commotion, the lone human observer Elias Carter stepped forward, his boots crunching softly on the mossy ground. Elias scanned the canopy with a handheld LiDAR device, whisking holographic data into the air. Tree height, trunk girth, canopy density, even soil moisture content. He tucked the scanner into his pack, shrugged on his lightweight field jacket, and walked toward the nearest grove. His movements were deliberate, assured-born, it seemed, from years of wilderness study rather than starship lecture halls. Behind him, the alien students hesitated. They'd prepared for xenobiology labs and zero-gravity experiments, sure, but nothing in their simulations mimicked the living, breathing complexity of an alien forest. Some clung to emergency tents, trying to hammer stakes into roots. Others attempted to lash together saplings with scavenged vines, only to have their structures collapse under Arborea the Seventh's heavier than Earth gravity. Thick fog rolled in. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting the forest in a ghostly blue glow. The students gathered in a disjointed circle, faces, mandibles, eye stalks, or bioluminescent patches etched with panic. Beneath the vines overhead, insects chirped. Unseen wings rustled through the undergrowth. The forest's breathing seemed to press in on them, a living entity unbowed by starships or scholarly ambition. Elias knelt, brushing his gloved fingers. Across the forest floor, "The soil here has high clay content," he murmured. "Not ideal for tent stakes. We need a raised platform or waterproof ground sheet to avoid the damp." He looked up, eyes bright with purpose. "Follow me." A tense silence fell. Then Thurik, shaking his iridescent feathers back into place, nodded once. Slithura unfurled, a slender arm in agreement. The brigands scuttled forward, jointed claws clicking a reluctant approval. One by one, each alien student stepped toward Elias, drawn by the calm certainty in his voice. As they gathered around the human, the forest symphony swelled, the distant howl of a nocturnal predator, the whisper of wind through phosphorescent fronds, the pulse of bioluminescence in the vine lamps above. For the first time, the group felt a spark of hope amidst the wild unknown. The true test had just begun, and already, Elias Carter's quiet confidence promised that their survival integration might yet succeed. The moment Elias turned to lead the group toward higher ground, pandemonium erupted. Thoric, the Vrazel, with iridescent plumage, flapped his wings in frustration and launched himself at the nearest tree, pecking fiercely at its bark as though it held some hidden fruit. His feathers scattered phosphorescent spores everywhere, coating the others in a sticky glow. Slithara, the myxonoid, recoiled into a semi-solid blob and hissed, her gelatinous limbs retracting whenever an insect buzzed nearby. "These creatures are everywhere," she bubbled, her voice warbling like echoing water. She stretched out a trembling arm, accidentally smearing bioluminescent fungus across her side. The faint light pulsed in time with her anxiety. Nearby, the trio of brigands hard-shelled. Crustacean scholars argued over the best anchoring strategy. One, clutching a jagged mushroom cap, insisted it could double as a waterproof cover. Another brandished a mass of vines, certain they'd hold more tension than metal cables on their homeworld. The third scuttled between them, claws clicking. Impatiently, demanding they stop wasting precious time debating trivial materials. A high-pitched trill rang out as Jira, the Allery telepath, attempted to calm the group with mental suggestion. Instead, her empathic waves collided with Slithara's undulating fear, triggering a cascade of panic that radiated outward. Mandibles chattered, shells clicked, and feathers bristled. The group fractured into smaller cliques, each scrambling to implement its own survival plan. Elias raised his hand, but the din of confusion drowned out his voice. His calm facade broke for an instant as he realized the depth of their unpreparedness. None had considered Arborea the Seventh's heavier gravity, its predatory wildlife, nor the acidic rainfall that fell in sporadic corrosive drizzles. Then he took a deep breath, centering himself in the chaos. He strode forward, planting his boots firmly on the damp earth. "Stop," he called, voice resonant against the canopy. Slowly, the group looked up, eyes stalked, biolights dimming, wings folding. Elias stepped between the quarreling brigands, gently prying the mushroom cap from one's grasp and the vines from another's. "We need focus, not factions. We survive as one." He knelt and traced a circle in the mud, dividing it into quadrants. Zone 1, gather heavy, moisture-resistant wood. Zone 2, harvest sturdy vines for lashings. Zone 3, collect broad leaves for roofing. Zone 4, scout for stable saplings, strong supports above the waterline. Each student, still trembling, made eye contact with Elias and then tentatively turned to their assigned task. As sticks were gathered, vines untangled, and leaves stacked, a fragile order took shape. The forest nocturnal chorus continued cries of distant predators, the rustle of unseen wings, but within the clearing, a new cadence emerged. Coordinated footsteps, measured heaves, and the confident hum of purpose. Under Elias's guidance, panic transformed into productivity, and chaos, however reluctantly, gave way to the first spark of collaboration. The first rays of Arborea, the Seventh's twin suns, had barely filtered through the canopy when Elias Carter crouched beside a line of fallen logs. His fingers probed the concentric rings, each marking a season of torrential monsoons and blistering droughts. "These are cedar-like but far lighter," he announced. "Strong enough for framing, yet won't crush our supports in heavy rain." He raised his voice so all could hear. "Watch closely." With a single measured strike, Elias split a log lengthwise using his compact survival axe. The board slid apart smoothly, its grain straight and unblemished. Curious, Thuric fluttered close, Trelmy feathers brushing the human shoulder. "Teach me," the Vrazel muttered, eyes gleaming with newfound resolve. Elias nodded and handed him the axe. Under Elias's direction, the student set to work. He showed Slithara how to weave lianas long, sinewy vines into strong, flexible ropes. A gelatinous form trembled with concentration, as she twisted two strands, testing their tensile strength. "Perfect," Elias affirmed. "Acidic rain. Won't break these, and they'll flex under weight." Nearby, one of the brigands hammered sharpened stakes into the forest floor, anchoring a makeshift scaffold. Elias crouched beside him, adjusting the angle. 0.9 G means less force on our joints, but more on materials. Aim your stake angle at 20 degrees from vertical to deflect downward pressure. By midday, the platform's triangular frame took shape, suspended between three saplings chosen for their natural curvature. Elias measured and marked each joint, cutting precise notches so the beams interlocked seamlessly. He employed a simple tenon and mortise technique, something he'd learned restoring an old barn on Earth. The aliens watched, rapt as he slid each beam into place, secure and wobble-free. As the hours passed, rain began to fall, tiny droplets. At first, then larger, acidic beads that sizzled against the leaves. Undeterred, Elias erected a sloping roof of broad, waxy fronds harvested earlier. Under his careful guidance, the students layered them like shingles, each overlapping the next to channel water away from the platform's edge. When a sudden gust rattled the canopy, the roof held firm. A cheer rose from the group. At the 6th hour, Elias climbed the ladder he'd fashioned, rungs of polished wood lashed with liana rope, and stood atop the platform. He placed a final railing post, stepped back, and surveyed his work. A sturdy treehouse, 14 meters above the damp forest floor, its floorboards tight, its railing firm, and its thatched roof standing guard against storm and shadow. The alien students, gathered below, looked up in awe and relief. 6 hours, Elias announced, voice echoing among the trunks. Now we learn to live in it. He offered his hand to Slithara, helping her up the ladder. One by one, the others followed, their initial panic replaced by a growing sense of pride. In Elias's treehouse, they found not only shelter, but the tools and confidence to face the night ahead. Asterisk night settled over Arborea 7 like a living shroud. From within the treehouse, the students listened to the forest symphony. Distant roars of unseen predators, the patter of acidic rain against their thatched roof, and the soft chorus of bioluminescent insects weaving between the vines. Elias Carter stoked a small but sturdy campfire at the treehouse's center, its amber glow casting long shadows on plank walls. Thurick stood by the railing, wings folded protectively around his shoulders. "I never thought I'd be grateful for gravity," he said with a wry trill, peering down at the dark undergrowth. Slither, perched on a bench carved from a single board, produced a budding vine lantern, an alien lantern grafted onto life, which cast a gentle green light across the group. "My species values fluid adaptability," she murmured. "But you taught me structure and strength." The three Kriggans sat on the floorboards, their shell ridges clicking softly as they delicately roasted phosphorescent mushrooms over the embers. "On Brigand homeworld," one remarked, "we dig into the earth to hide. Up here, we see everything coming." "Thank you." His companions nodded, shells reflecting the firelight like polished armor. As the hours passed, conversation turned to homeworlds and dreams. Elias shared tales of Earth's great redwood forests. A Charik student reciprocated with stories of crystalline caverns elsewhere on Arborea. Jira, the Elori, wove mental images of star-lit oceans. Despite their myriad differences, physiology, culture, gravity tolerances, they discovered a shared spark of wonder. Just before the first pale fingers of Arborea's dawn brushed the horizon, the instructor's hovercraft appeared as a distant glow. It hummed low, descending into the clearing. The students filed out onto the treehouse's platform, standing shoulder to shoulder as the craft came to rest among the saplings. The instructor's armored boots hit the wooden ladder with a soft thud. He climbed slowly, surveying the treehouses. Craftsmanship, The interlocking beams, the snug floorboards, the overlapping fronds of the roof. He turned to the students, face inscrutable behind his visor. "Impressive," he said at last, voice modulated through his helmet. "A raised shelter, built in half the allotted time, using native materials and capable of withstanding acid rain and gravity loads." He paused, then removed his helmet, revealing a lined face and keen eyes. "You, Elias Carter, have not only survived but instructed your peers in integration. You've shown true leadership." The group exchanged proud glances. Thurix. Feathers flared in dignified pleasure. Slither's glow pulsed steadily. The brigands straightened their shells. Even Jira's empathic glow warmed with approval as the twin suns rose fully, washing the forest in gold and violet light. The instructor addressed them once more. "Let this be more than a test. Let it be the start of genuine collaboration between species." He handed Elias a small, polished token, an emblem of the academy, and nodded. "Well done." From that day forward, the legend of the human who built a treehouse in 6 hours and united 16 alien students spread throughout the Trelmi sector. On Arborea 7, the forest remained as wild and mysterious as ever, but wherever travelers paused under its towering canopies, they spoke in hushed tones of the night when unity rose, beam by beam, into the sky. Dusk settled gently on Arborea the 7th's treetops, painting the phosphorescent vines in hues of violet and rose. The hovercraft's departure had left the clearing quiet save for the soft creaks of the treehouse and the cooling air. Inside, Elias, Carter, and the 16 alien students gathered around a smoldering brazier, its warmth a reminder of the night's trials. Thurix stood by the open window, gazing at the glowing mushrooms clustered on the forest floor. The instructor said, "This could be the start of genuine collaboration," he mused, feathers rustling. "But what comes next?" Elias exchanged looks with Slithara. The Mixonoid's gelatinous form shimmered thoughtfully. "Integration doesn't end with one night's shelter," he said. "It grows with every shared challenge. We've demonstrated survival. Now it's time to thrive." Jira, the empathic Allery, floated to the center of the platform. Her biolights pulsed in a rhythmic pattern. Through her mental link, she projected an image, a map of Arborea, the 7's vast forest, marked with uncharted groves and hidden grottos. Fingertips glowing, she traced a potential network of elevated walkways connecting the students' treehouse to other safe zones. The brigands clicked in approval. "We could establish a canopy network," one suggested, linking key resource sites, waterfalls, medicinal fungi fields, even nesting grounds for pollinating insects. Slither's form rippled with excitement. "Imagine a living highway. In the treetop screechers and scholars moving freely, guided by our structures." Elias stood and surveyed his classmates. "Tomorrow we begin Phase 2, surveying and connecting. Each of us will lead a team into a different sector. We'll map resources, identify hazards, and build outposts." He held up his scanner. "With every beam we raise, we'll strengthen bonds between species and between ourselves and this world." Silence fell as the students contemplated this vision. Then Thurek unfurled his wings and trilled with determination. The others responded in kind. Slithara let out a soft, bubbling hum. The brigand's claws tapped in rhythmic agreement. Jira's biolight flared brightly. Elias smiled, feeling the unity that had been forged in the crucible of survival. "Tonight," he said, "we rest as allies. Tomorrow, we build a future together." As the forest's nocturnal chorus rose once more, the students settled into hammocks woven from vines, lanterns flickering with bioluminescent fungus. High above the forest floor, the treehouse stood as a beacon of hope, its silhouette framed by twin moons. And in its quiet glow, 16 faces feathered, crystalline, shelled, and human dreamed of new horizons just beyond the canopy.